Are you ready for this?
We're here! Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Ron Popeil.
Chose anybody?
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Tom Purvis, trainer to the trainers.
Hi, I'm Mike Levy.
Hold on to your power rod.
But wait.
What are you doing?
Call now.
Call now.
Call now. Call now. Call or log on now.
Call now.
Call right now. Call in the next 18 minutes. Call in the next 16 minutes.
Call in the next 7 minutes.
Call these numbers right now.
Hello and welcome to Call Now, where we plunge headfirst into the surreal world of Infomercial. And while we can't offer you free shipping, we can guarantee that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are definitely those of this network. Thank you, Tim. My name is Dan Sturdivant. I'm joined as always by my co-host on this three-man weave known as Call Now. Of course, we've got the Viceroy of Value, Mark Pedrati. Hey, Mark, how we doing?
Hey, I make a good gift.
You sure do. Father's Day, Mother's Day, a backpacker, and we've got the great American inventor himself, Dave Sandrini. Dave-o, how we doing?
Hello. I completely forgot to say something crazy, so just indulge me.
You'll be well indulged because we caught up quickly for an emergency pod on July 28th, hours after the sad news of the passing of the godfather and patron saint of the infomercial, Ron Popeil. To date on our show, we've covered the Popeil automatic pasta maker back in episode 3. We got into the 5-in-1 fryer for our Thanksgiving special in episode 5. And most recently, we're able to hang out with really the full family. Now kind of looking at it, again, it's even a little bit more sentimental with the Showtime 6-star plus Knives series, where we had Ron, Arnold, Shannon, the whole fam was there. I mean, his impact is obviously unmatched. His story is incredible. And whether you enjoy the time that you spend watching him on screen or not, what he's meant to the bizarre world of infomercials deserves nothing but respect. So to properly commemorate the man, the myth, the legend, got to hand the keys of our infomercial empire over to Dave Sandrini to take the wheel and guide us through our proper celebration of life for Mr. Ron Popeil. So, Dave, please take it away.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor. Let's first open it up with the most Ron quote that I think I have ever heard. And it is quoted by him. And I saw it today in a YouTube video. And he says, and I hope you guys haven't heard this, I'm a self-made celebrity. The more I spend on TV, the more of a celebrity I am. And I can't really do it right because of the way he said it, but it's not the more time I spend on TV. It was the more I spend on TV. Anyway, I was floored with that one.
Yeah.
I do feel that after a week after the news, after he died, he's getting a very Ron send-off, which I'm sure he'd be happy about. Every article I've read has like a list of his wacky inventions, followed by a blurb relating to his incredible ambition, persona, etc. I mean, he's getting a pretty good send-off, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. It's what you would expect. I think one of the things that we've talked about is the tone of Ron, his intended audience, and I think that audience, their sentimentality, because you think about it, there's people that have, I mean, he's been on TV our entire 3.5 decades on this earth, but he was doing it for an additional 40 years before that.
Yeah.
You know, he started, his first commercial was in 59. So there's people who their entire lives who, you know, are a full generation and a half older than us, who have always known Ron Popeil on their television, hawking them products that he's invented. So yeah, there's just such a wide swath of people that he had no choice but running into. And I think even like some of the parody stuff that came with it, that he totally embraced, only added to that Ronness, which the quote that you mentioned beautifully encapsulates.
Yeah, it really does. Because I think when he heard that SNL was spoofing him, he probably, I heard some things, and he's like not thrilled about it up front because he's like, what's this going to do to my product? But I think his product started selling a lot more over there. And I think, Dave, that quote, like, can't be from 1960. Like that has to be the culmination of all the years that he spent maybe worrying about some of those things and to having them happen and having them be a success to the rest of his business. And I mean, the dude, he did it all, he learned it all, and he can tell all at the end of his career.
Yeah. In his book, so the book came out in the mid-late 90s, Salesman of the Century. He talks about the Dan Aykroyd Bass-O-Matic. He goes,
So good.
and I loved it. You're right, though. It's like, now you can say you loved it. Of course you can.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that the first time, like if Ron was just sitting in his house that Saturday night, I'm guessing the TV didn't survive once he saw it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
What year was it, did you say?
It's got to be early 80s. I would say like 83.
that sounds right. Somewhere around there, because it was after the Pocket Fisherman, all right around that time. And it was coming off of, and what Ron, I think, said what he became most well known for. So after the Chop-O-Matic being the first one, I'm going to show you the greatest kitchen product ever invented. It's called Chop-O-Matic. The Dial-O-Matic was the big one. That's where it got to the full, like that became basically that slice, dice, chop, peels, chunks, chips, everything pitch that John Parkin, spoke to in the Pitch People documentary, and that I think is the shot sheet for every non-knife handheld cutting device of how you do it.
Yeah.
So it was after the Dial-O-Matic, they got to the Bass-O-Matic. I kept seeing it listed as Bat-O-Matic in a lot of the things, but I was like, I remember watching it. They're throwing fish in there.
It's a full bass.
Bass-O-Matic.
You can do a full bass.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I was like, why are they putting Bat-O-Matic in here? I don't know.
It's 76. Sorry, 76. SNL was 75. It started. So this is like an original sketch.
They were coming out of the gates going to Ron.
Yeah. Well, it's all on TV, and it's all on late night TV, I mean, that's got to be why.
Same audience, right?
Yeah.
They were actually creeping into Ron's territory. He was there first.
Yeah.
Still stoned.
I think it's very important what Ron Popeil did to enable the space that we've carved out here.
Yeah, they're totally. But I couldn't believe how much YouTube stuff there is, not of Ron, but of people testing his products. Current people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we look for that stuff in kind of everything that we cover, and sometimes it's there. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, like maybe some of the golf products and stuff around there. But yeah, there's a woman who's done like all of his cooking products. And then I watched this great video of the guy doing the Pocket Fisherman, which we'll get to that later. It's crazy. Like there's something about his things. They're kind of better, especially that era, like 70s and 80s. That stuff was good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was so greenfield too, right? So he was doing the pitch style commercials for a while. And then once it opened up to 28 and a half minutes, it was like, I was made for this. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like the perfect situation of the time, place, person, era, technology. Like, it all lined up. Like, there was a void there that a bunch of people were able to insert themselves into and were good and made great money and were very successful and are fairly recognizable. But nobody went 2 feet all the way to the bottom of the deep end of that pool like Ron did, just being like, I'm going to keep doing this until I fail. And guess what? I'm never going to fail. Right? Like,
I'm going to spend on TV.
Yeah. He will drink your milkshake.
Dan, it's so funny you said that because I was thinking about this. Like the earlier 2-minute, 1-minute pitches were like, you just have to say scripts faster. You have to get it all out there. And when I think of Ron, I don't think of him as like a carnival barker, like fast pitch guy. He's a very in tune, slow, meticulous way of delivery. And I believe he had full confidence when like Reagan obviously lifted whatever that thing was that like you can like do infomercials, 30-minute infomercials on TV. I bet you he was like chomping at the bit. He's like, oh, I'm a soliloquy guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill this thing.
He was fast though, Mark.
Yes.
He's fast. Like you're like, that guy's not fast. And then you get on the court with him and you're like, oh dear God, he's, I do some knows. Like he's already around you somehow. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. That's the back to, what we talked about historically about Ron is it is hypnotic. Like I think that's what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be fast, but no matter what it is, it's pulling you in.
Yeah.
And again, not to give the full history lesson, but the hours and hours that he spent in a Woolworth in Chicago, just hawking products in the makeup aisle, makeup and fragrances, because that had the highest amount of foot traffic. So I would sit there. It's like, damn, like he was just there for 10 hours a day. Like as long as the store was open, he was there, and he was just perfecting his craft. Before then, he went to the fair circuit and killed it there.
Yeah.
And then started training his buddy Mel Corey to kind of be his running mate and his partner. Before then once TV came along, and what he said was great. He's like, Mel and I would think, why don't we just pitch once in a football stadium, get 80,000 people in there, pitch once, and then sell for the whole day. Little did I know that television was right around the corner.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that to us and people probably our age and younger totally forget, is that he wasn't just inventing products and he wasn't just marketing them. Like he was really defining the medium and pushing ways to do things differently through the medium that just didn't happen before.
Yeah.
So like, even though the Morse brothers did have things like Lester Morse with his cooking show and the Rotor Boil and a lot of things historically that were out there, our buddy Pappy Barnard for the original Vitamix in 49, those things were out there. But Ron was the first one where it wasn't going to be a one-off. It was going to be, if I can do this, the more I spend on this, the more famous I become.
Yeah.
And just nailed it.
But like, it's still, I think, going through his list of products for my research and thinking about that, he must be really technically savvy as well and unintimidated. Like, just even thinking about having a television production schedule for a 30-minute thing is a lot. And like all of the people that we talked to, I mean, Stan directed these things. And I bet Ron kind of did too. I bet that was a thing that he just learned how to do and was like, I know how I'm going to come into the frame and do it. Like, or at least he knew very early on who his team was and who was going to do it. Because like, there's a reason why those other guys didn't just say like, oh yeah, I can do a 30-minute broadcast, because you can't.
Right. Good luck.
Crazy.
We know what those look like when they're bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And just on your point about the potential of him selecting good people, he did.
Yeah.
And he had an engineer that he trusted. So his whole thing was like, I want to build a better mousetrap. And that was his whole thing. He's like, you look around houses, you go to stores obsessively, watch other commercials and infomercials, watch some of the national sitcoms on television. The products they're using are the products people want in their homes. It's like, yeah. You're right. And he was just kind of on that leading edge, that never quit part of things, but making sure that he had the people with those specific set of skills around him to be able to hold the things that he couldn't. Like, that partner I talked about, Mel Corey, once they became Ronco, they were 50-50 partners. Ron was responsible for inventing and for pitching. And then what they did to be able to more efficiently and effectively buy ad time is Ron had Mel's side of the business be an in-house ad agency. So then they didn't have to go through an ad agency and pay 15% every time on top of their ad buys.
Mm-hmm.
They booked something, yeah.
They had an in-house agency. That type of mentality of thinking about how to continue to capitalize on your wins was, I think, among his greatest innovations.
Yep.
So did he have a different engineer for the different type of product? Like the Fisherman is not the microphone, right?
That was his father's, right? Wasn't a couple of those original ones actually his father's?
Some were, yeah.
products?
So some of the first things that he got out there were his father's when he was really, once it was Ronco and he was on his own, at least in Salesman of the Century, he talks about one specific engineer that he would continually go to.
Yeah.
And basically the process was Ron would describe to him what he was trying to accomplish. The guy would come back to him with 5 or 6 potential options. They would settle on one and then work that thing until it worked.
Wow.
It was nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
Dave, I bet it's like there's a nice cutoff in like the late 70s when everything became Ron's that wasn't kind of left over from his father.
Yeah.
After his father passed and his father's like company like basically just went belly up and there was nothing left there and just kind of needed new inventions. And that's where Ron became the man he was.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Dan mentioned it, which was kind of my question, which was I was just going through YouTube, like I said, and all these 2-minute commercials, 1-minute commercials are scripted, produced commercials. from what Dan is saying is an ad agency. It's completely different than his, QVC to infomercial stuff. And they're really good. Like they're stupid, they're dated. So that must be like he's coming in, like post Mad Men in the 70s, and he's like, oh yeah, there's a company that can do that. It's like, what if I hire 10 of them? Yep, you can do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're making these amazing things, but it's kind of weird because I'm going back assuming I'm going to see, the Glass roster with him pitching it. And it's this like ridiculously like produced video that I'm like, oh man, give me more of this.
It's like Inception. I bought the airline.
Yeah.
It seemed easy. Like, it's like, oh yeah. Like, oh yeah. Like why try to find which ad agency is going to get you the best deals and, try to still argue with them and figure it's like, oh, our issue is ad agencies. Why don't we just have an ad agency?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is a better mousetrap. Yeah. Let's do that. Holy shit. Yeah.
Dan, was there a name for the agency from what you read? Is it just Ronco? Probably. Like,
I think it was it was basically an in-house division. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
But he would give Mel all the credit for, handling that side of the business. And again, like that was one of his big things was making sure that for the two of them going in that it was a 50-50 split. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I need someone who's going to pay attention to all the shit I don't like. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm really good at X number of things. So it's like, he's a guy who doesn't necessarily come off as self-aware in some of the infomercials, but the reality is he had to have been incredibly self-aware to be willing to surround himself with people to ensure his success. And one of the things people will point to is when they went bankrupt. And again, biased information is coming from the words of Ron in his own book, but it did actually kind of sound somewhat circumstantial where they had a relationship with a bank in Chicago. They basically would continue to make sure they could stock inventory and not have to overspend out of pocket. Basically a revolving $15 million loan. And they would always just pay the interest on it, roll it over, pay the interest, roll it over, pay interest, roll it over. And one of that bank's competitors went belly up. Yeah. And so when that happened, all of the other banks who were servicing similar clients all said, oh, we're going to make leadership changes and do some stringent audits. And we can't continue to hold loans like this that make us more vulnerable.
These are risky, yeah.
Exactly. So they were deemed, their risk profile was too high. They weren't that liquid. So that was when they filed for bankruptcy and the company, quote, went under there. But Ron was never broke. And he makes sure to mention that too in his book in classic Ron fashion.
And he took all his inventory. He went bankrupt, took it all, went back to the pier, pitched, sold it all, started his empire again. Like,
unloaded it all. Yep.
I mean, even if he is got a huge ego,
crazy.
To give him a little credit here, it's like I'm going back and watching these things from the 70s, and I'm like, there's no Ron. Like that's a problem. Like that's a problem if you're a business.
Yeah.
It's like talking to Tom or something. It's like, I basically helped invent the Bowflex. He would argue that he didn't, but he did,
Yeah.
It's like, there's no Ron on this. And of course it's Ron ad nauseum as we've seen him in the 90s and 2000s, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like,
Ron.
Back then it's like, he kind of had to separate himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So this is where I think this is going to get fun because I'm going through
I like fun.
I'm going through all these retrospectives and I'm like, there's just list after list after list of thing. And I'm like, well, I guess we should probably just do a list. So I picked 10 products and
Brag.
I think that Dan will know all of them. Actually, I'm certain that Dan will know all of them. But let's just first describe and then pick apart each of these things because they're fucking amazing. Number one, the Pocket Fisherman. How would you describe the Pocket Fisherman?
It's a toy. It's a toy. It's a toy. That's all it is. I don't understand the clientele that would buy that now.
Man.
But it's a different time for a nice little toy, baby.
Honestly, it feels kind of like a microcosm of drifter society in the 70s and how transient people were, where it's like, man, you're going to be driving, you're going to see a river, man. You might not have your tackle in your rod in your car, man. Those fish are biting. Get out. You got your Pocket Fisherman. You're going to be fine. Now it's like if you're going fishing, it's planned months in advance, basically. If you're a casual fisherman, you might own a rod, but probably not. You definitely don't have a license. And this is like, license? Come on, man. What are we doing? It's Carter time, brother. We're cool. We're good here.
It's awesome.
It's like you're a big pothead and you're on a road trip and you don't have your weed with you, but you got that like one hitter in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that for fishermen.
You can always get your fishing fix.
I can't understand it, but I'm so glad he made that.
And he made a shitload of money off it too, which is great.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's so wild. And again, and so this is one thing he talks about in his book.
I would buy that thing. No doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
He talks about in his book, Mark, you mentioned it when you were introduced. Ron was so focused on America as a gift-giving society. People love to give gifts.
Yeah.
Be sure to make people know that this is a great gift for one of their loved ones. I was like, all right. But then you see something like the Pocket Fisherman. Oh, yeah, that's just like the ultimate Father's Day trap.
Yeah.
Like, I have or know a dad. Yeah, here you go. Like,
Dads are a species. It's great. I watched a YouTube video. My research was to look at videos of people using these things. This guy, this was 2019, I think, goes out on a kayak with a pocket fisherman and catches 3 fish. Like, he's a fisherman, like he's a good fisherman, but he just goes out and he like bass, and he's like, that's a small one. It was like that big. Like, it was not that small. And he was like, this is a pretty, it's cheap, but it's like kind of a cool thing. And he's like pulling back all the winch thing. And he's just like, it's actually a good design. And I'm like, shit, like what? And he bought it off of eBay, so it's 20 years old.
a classic. Yeah. Don't they still make newer ones?
Yes, they definitely do.
Like they're still available.
Yeah. His was old, I think.
$30 on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
But okay, Dan, you'll know this. So that's obsolete as far as Ronco goes, right?
It's still a Ronco Pocket Fisherman.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because on his website, you couldn't click on it to buy it. You can only click on his kitchen products.
So there might be a split somewhere, but like at least via Bezos, it's still visit the Ronco store.
Okay. Yeah, no, I could be totally wrong. So then good transition to raising a number 2, which is a glass froster. Did you guys watch the glass froster? Oh, well, let me explain it to you, Mark. It's awesome. It's like the thing that bartenders have where you push the glass down and like rinses the inside of the glass, right?
Yep.
Except it just injects frost into the glass.
Just colds it. Colds your glasses. That's not his term. That's my term. But
there's no explanation. You can't even really get explanations because I tried to do that too because it's owned by Ron. I don't know how it works, but it just immediately frosts your glass. It's awesome.
It looks like a little cup. Okay, I'm seeing it. Is there any chemicals that are involved with this?
Yes. Yeah. That's like the biggest thing. Keep away from eyes. F12 dichlorodifluoromethane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't think you can sell this anymore. Because the public health environment reduces ozone in the upper atmosphere. That stuff does.
Yeah.
So
you know what else doesn't exist anymore? Driving your car over to the side of a creek and pulling out a little toy fishing pole.
Yeah.
Nobody frosts their glasses anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Frosted mug is dated.
It's over.
It's for shit Coors beer. But
yeah.
Yes, there was a time and place in Ronco.
Yeah. It's called the home plate. I bet they still got one of these.
Yeah.
Among the rubble.
And the chemicals. Yeah.
But I probably would buy this. This is great. I would have got this for my dad when I was 12 for Christmas. For sure.
Yeah,
and
getting one of these, like for the Dan's retro infomercial product collection, this thing would be great.
Yeah.
I don't know how close you can keep it next to QRB for safety.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just asking for spontaneous combustion, but I think it's worth the risk.
That's what I was going to say.
I might try to roll the dice.
Is that there's a subcategory here of Ron's products with chemicals, and the glass froster is in there for sure.
Uh-oh.
Dan, you got any other history on the glass froster?
No,
Okay.
I mean, just that it's terrifying. I still don't get it. I will say that there's one on eBay for $10. I'm just going to go ahead and snap that up right now while we talk, because that's very important.
Number 3, which might be the one I'm most interested in, is the Ronco Grip Spatula. Did you see this one?
No.
I've seen the product, but I haven't seen the commercial for it, so please break her down.
Okay. Imagine a spatula, right? Imagine that you're cooking with a cooking system with a spatula.
Done.
It is a spatula.
Oh, is this the...
Yeah. That doubles as tongs, sort of.
Whoa.
So there's a
flipping
whole...
grip.
Yeah. Oh, it's called the flipping grip?
It might have evolved to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, that's $10 too.
I know. I see it. We're on the same one. Do you want to start a bidding war?
I don't think I could beat you.
There's a hole in the middle of a spatula so grease doesn't flip in the air, I guess. So you can pick up like say a sausage because I saw him do it.
Brag.
You can pick up
Nice.
you can pick up a sausage without flipping grease into the air. And like I
You
don't know,
love making homemade sausages.
yeah. In the video, he goes, "I didn't invent the sausage, but I did invent the Ronco grip spatula." Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. So
He's not fucking around at all.
No.
on the CBS video that I watched, yeah, CBS. That's right.
Shout out CBS. Shout out Young Sheldon.
Yeah, shout out Young Sheldon. He is basically, getting interviewed, and he's talking about all of his products throughout the years. And the guy that is interviewing him, he's kind of pitching him retroactively all of his products, right? Like,
Can't help it, man.
but like, this is the best part is that he isn't doing it like perfectly. Like he doesn't have his pitch down perfectly for each product. So you get to see Ron kind of ad lib each of these little pitches and like be a little bit real. And it's kind of great.
It's funny that you mentioned that. He said, again, in his book, that in his infomercials, he doesn't like to do too many takes because he wants it to feel sincere, like he's actually telling you about the product. He's like, if you see somebody at a fair, they might stutter or miss a word and have to repeat something. That's why I don't like to redo things during my shows. Plus, I have a tea time in 45 minutes. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll take that part out. Regardless of what his true motivations are, that's a very rational explanation. And I do think roots it in feeling a little more human, which we know that there might be some issues with. Yeah.
That's the thing that Arnold, I think, speaks about in the documentary, which is that there has to be an element of surprise in each.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it good. I mean, Ron's kind of saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Dave, this list so far, it's good. They seem old
and great.
And I definitely haven't seen much of the full format infomercials on these. I don't know if they exist on all these products yet, but I have a hard time understanding that this spatula, you can go on for 30 minutes talking about it. Like once I see it open, I already know what to do with it. And that might be because I'm very smart, very, very smart,
Very smart, handsome.
Yeah. Handsome, yeah.
Tall for your age.
Dave, what did you find out? Like what more than just sausage, what you said? Like, was there anything more that this thing does? Because I'm not buying it as like multi-tool that he normally sold.
You drop your keys behind your sofa.
No, but what I think I discovered is that because he invented so many things, and Dan can back me up on this because he actually knows, that when it went to QVC or a 30-minute format, he was prepared for all of these add-ons, right? So the Ronco grip spatula is now part of a different system. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like the flavor injector is now part of another
Yeah.
system. Like, yeah, maybe you could do a 30-minute show, but like maybe you don't need to. Maybe he can just assault you with every piece of, whatever in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a few ways that it goes to, and it's where it's associated products like we saw with the Showtime knives, where it's like, all right, you also get the butcher block, you get the sharpener, you get the flavor injector, the steak knives, you get all this shit with it. You can ask about the flatware, all that stuff. But he also did, it was like Ron's big comeback, where he did the dehydrator. And he leads off by walking through like 2 or 3 of his old products that he just didn't want people to forget about, like to re-credentialize himself with people.
Yep.
He does like the car door bumper one, does one, it's like, I think it's a different plunger or something. Like he's just like tearing through stuff. He bangs out 3 products like, and now the reason that we're here. Whoa,
Right.
so we've been here for 8 minutes. Did you just get here?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
he understands equity. And Dave, you explained it perfectly, right? It's like he didn't throw anything away, any good idea away. If it's small, if it's big, whatever. But like he will find a way to match that thing up with something else and boost the value. Like, okay, so I'm in.
And leading into one that will not be sold as an add-on, we go into number 4 or 5 here. The numbers don't matter.
4.
Mr. Microphone,
Oh,
which I was completely unaware of up until tonight. It might have the best commercial that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yep.
And that was the one where I started saying, wow, this guy can kind of invent anything. I mean, they talked about it in Pitch People, but how many people just went into electronics? I mean, I guess every cooking thing has some electronics and stuff, but this is like circuitry, audio recording, and he just
but again,
made it.
this is also the difference of Ron, right? So, like Jan said, Ron's an inventor. No one else is like this. Other people are like tinkerers, maybe, or they know products from having pitched enough products where now they have the credibility to be part of the decision-making process of, could this be a hit? Could this be a home run if we made an infomercial out of it? And he's just looking at things. He's like, oh, karaoke's fun, but it's hard to have a whole situation where oh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Like, and just being able to go full hog. So yeah, it's entirely rare and unique to be the starter for all of those things. I'm sure any of like the greats could have also pitched this stuff. Like if you gave Arnold a Mr. Microphone, I'm sure he would have done awesome with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's not how most of those people are wired. They're kind of, they have a lane, right? They have like, okay, I know these types of product. That's where I am. Branch out a little bit. Like Jan's a housewares guy. So he'll sell you a total trolley, but for the most part, it's somewhere between your kitchen and your living room that you're going to meet Jan. Billy Mays had some of the versatility, but he was more of like the home hardware kind of stuff, you know? So it's interesting. And I think the diversity of product set is truly singular for Papa Ron.
And so cool. I mean, Mr. Microphone versus
the thing's fucking awesome.
Vegematic versus Pocket Fisherman. Those are three really cool things that I was unaware of. Yeah. But Mr. Microphone, I forgot to do the description, is a microphone with an orange little styrofoam, don't blow out the mic thing.
Windscreen.
That if you turn your frequency on your FM radio to the proper frequency, you can speak into the microphone and it goes to the speaker. I mean, we're old enough to know how that is gold, right?
Yeah.
Like we're old enough to know that is like, if you were in college and technology wasn't a thing, like it was, I mean, we had
like in 1978,
that would have been the best thing that you could have.
Dave, we did this, and I don't know if you guys specifically did this. We used to have something you plug into an iPod or something, and you would be able to put the channel on this little device and put it like, I understand the concept so well on this. I think a whole generation now probably wouldn't, because why would you ever tune into a radio when they never even turn a radio on? But this thing was like, it's so brilliant because it's just one little, I don't know what it cost. It was $10, $12, $15, whatever. Probably a great gift. But you get to utilize your dope systems, like your sick systems in your house, your sick car system, like your boombox that you might bring around with you all the time. Like it literally amplified your lifestyle of speakers and music. It's so fucking cool.
And if you're a joker, I mean, you win.
Oh yeah,
you win the day. I mean, imagine an age in a scenario. If you're Dan driving home from the dinner doing his bit, and you have Mr. Microphone, and you do it there,
it would have been so nice.
If you're me, and if your mom's mad at you and driving you home from school, and you have this thing, and you click it on and get like you won, you end all discussion. It's so
we would have won the Cold War.
Yeah, we did. I think that's.
This is why
we put it on our spy planes as like propaganda, like out of the speakers. We talked some sense into the rescue.
Yeah,
Mr. United States Microphone.
So I don't know what direction it went, if he had the idea for the technology or if he took this technology, bent it for this. I don't know which direction it went. But like there was, and I'm sure they're still available, like before car Bluetooth was a thing, there were hands-free devices that you plugged it into the jack of your phone, set it to the right frequency in your car, and it would do exactly this. So you could have hands-free phone calls in your car before CarPlay and seamless Bluetooth was available. So it's like, this was a great idea. He thought of this in 1978. Like he was that far ahead of where things were going for actually needing this for a practical purpose in the automobile, as opposed to being like, hey, good looking, like yelling at chicks in your convertible. Yeah.
and shout out his advertising team on that commercial, which is straight gold.
That definitely gets the call now seal of incredible baby.
Oh my god.
Another marketing thing I did hear through this, and I don't know if you came across it, like cordless electronic. So it had batteries in it.
Yeah.
Like that was a popular thing to put batteries in everything, right? But he called it cordless electronic, and this was one of those things. And like it just sounds way sexier.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you're not thinking about batteries when you're making this purchase. Like, fuck, I have to buy batteries once you have it, and when it runs out. But like,
no, I just have to use this thing, and I'm so happy it doesn't plug into a wall.
yeah,
Yeah. I need to be free.
That's Mad Men shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's got batteries. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's cordless.
No, it doesn't. It's cordless.
It's like, just don't think about it.
I need 3 fingers of scotch.
and 2 fingers of heater.
At least.
No. The battery life isn't 5 seconds. It's cordless. Yeah. So this one could be kind of the next 3 things. We'll go through all of them.
The next 3 days.
Yeah. The next 3 products. Chop-O-Matic and Veg-O-Matic I'm putting together.
Put the Dial-O-Matic on there too. That's the evolution. That's the 3-step process.
And the Dial-O-Matic. Going from the Julian slicer, probably. And he was just like, no, not for me. We're not doing it that way. That thing is awesome. I've never used one. Have you guys used one of those things?
Afraid.
No, I never have. Even when I was in the restaurant, the closest thing they had was they had like a wall-mounted dicer.
Yeah.
So it'd be like you put a veggie on there and pull down, but it was never like the slicer because there was a little bit of an emphasis on having knife skills.
Yeah.
But I've always been so amazed by this piece of technology. So it's one of the things that Chef Tony does too, and that he packages in still. I'm not sure if it was with the Miracle Blades when he sold those, but he sold one of these too. And that was one of the formative Dan infomercials as a kid. Shout out RNN Channel 62. Nice work. Was watching Chef Tony in his big old meat hands just speed slicing onions the same way that Arnold did when he did it and Letterman cut his thumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, the constant tweaks and evolutions of this product. This is an interesting one, right? Because this is one that Arnold sold too.
Which version did he sell?
So I think they both.
Dial?
I feel like they both sold the Dial-O-Matic because I'm trying to remember it mostly from the Letterman bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then the split came, where it was then like the Morris metric slicer, which I think is what lined up with the Dial-O-Matic. I think that's where they might have had their split was towards the end of the road, basically.
Yeah.
I'm off one. The Veg-O-Matic was the split. The Veg-O-Matic was the last one, right?
Yes.
It went chop, dial, veg.
Yes.
And that's what it was. And the Veg-O-Matic is what exploded.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the Bass-O-Matic.
Yep.
This is the end state of all home slicing devices.
That felt like it was huge for Ron.
In his book, he says that was his, when he made it, was the Veg-O-Matic.
Yeah.
Like that was when he ascended in terms of, I don't know how Ron quantifies things.
Mm-hmm.
Right brand name. It probably just had a Kleenex brand name in households.
And I'll go one further, which is I think that he really is more attached to the kitchen products. And I think he's probably more attached to the kitchen products because he knows that America wants kitchen products more. I think he knows that when he's Ron, when he's 30-minute Ron, that...
Am I right or wrong? Nailed it.
You'd rather see him in the kitchen. You'd rather see him with kitchen products. And he knows that it's like, I can't do Mr. Microphone. My ad team can do Mr. Microphone. I can't do pocket. I mean, he kind of can, right? But like those kitchen products are where you're like, I have you in the kitchen. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like a combination of brand awareness, familiarity, and like where he ended up putting in his 10,000 hours soonest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's maybe a little bit easier to be a kitchen tinkerer. I feel like you need less of an engineering background to get started because you can kind of fuck around with what you've got. And you can be like, all right, if this was a better version of what I'm doing, I can see that. Where if like you're looking at a microphone and you crack open the back of it and you're looking at the components and you're just like, yeah, I'm not fucking touching this.
Yeah.
Like I've nothing to say to this, but if you're like, all right, like back in the day, we talked about the pan can. It's a cutting board where this side you push it off, it goes to your garbage can. This side it goes into the frying pan. Boom, pan can. What's better than that? Brilliant. But it's like, and I was like, oh, I can prototype that because I have a cutting board, I have a garbage can, I have a frying pan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is what it looks like. As opposed to like, if I was like, all right, I think that there should be a better way to get wireless headphones to connect to devices seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
It's like, and hopefully JBL or Sonos or Apple come up with that soon because I'm going to be playing with my cutting board.
He does a classic Ron on this thing too, by like, we talked about like, oh, it makes a great gift. But in this one, he talks about how you can basically like hide vegetables into your kids' food.
Yeah.
It's like one of those other like lifestyle things that I think he just totally like leans in on. And man, imagine the time that came out with like a mother, father at home that like are dealing with their kids and they're like, oh wait, we can hide vegetables. Like it's an impulse buy. He was like impulse buy. It's selling like fucking like 50 years. And he's so smart about the language he used.
It's cool. It's one of my favorite of his kitchen things. Like I was watching those today. I was like, that thing is pretty cool. You know,
I don't want to step on what else you might have on your list, Dave.
No, I kind of dare you to have some of the other things that I have.
So
but go ahead.
Two of the things that also piggyback on this trend. One is one that we covered, the automatic pasta maker, which is where he was basically like, people love bread makers, but they're complicated. And people also like pasta the same way, but they don't think about how easy it could be to make it themselves. So I came up with this. He's like, and then there's a health trend. People want to be healthy. So I tried to make it seem healthy. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But the one that he really focused on was with the dehydrator.
Yeah.
He was like, this was at a time in America when everybody wanted to be healthy. And if you could find a way to do it, I was just like, that's what it was? Yeah. He's like, yep, you can make soups because you could dry out the veggies and make them powder without having to put sodium in them. So that's good. And then you could just dry out meat. So that was good. And his whole thing was the reason he was able to undercut everybody on the price. So that was the big differentiator because dehydrators have been out forever. And I think my numbers might be slightly off, but dehydrators were like, say, I think they were like $200. $200 was kind of like the going rate. And what he figured out was like, wait a minute. If I make it, all it is it's just a longer time to dehydrate the food and I can sell it for $40 less. He's like, if you don't already dehydrate food, you don't know the difference. You don't know that you're missing. He's like, and it's passive time. It's not like you're standing there being like, oh man, I want those banana chips now. It's like, all right, you put them in, you like check them in the morning. Like, oh shit. So that was like, again, the just building a better mousetrap mentality. If it started with the health craze, how can I piggyback on something healthy? And then turning to the dehydrator and be like, oh wait, these things are all faster because they have more power to them. If I just cut that by X percentage, I'm able to shave 20% right off the head of my cost. Yeah.
The dehydrator's great.
You know what's funny about the dehydrator? It's like, it's a dehydrator. Like, I get it. I get that you can expedite dehydrating things, but that's all it does. It's all I do.
It's crazy looking too. That's the other part. It's like
my grandfather had one of these.
Wow.
It was a disaster.
Wow. But it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a shelf. You know, it looks
why?
it looks like a plastic shelf.
Do you want to know why?
Yes, I want to know why.
It's a fucking plastic shelf. That's it. That's it. It's insanity.
That's such a weird product.
He's just selling mousetrap. Just selling better mousetraps, man. That's it.
Incredible.
The sun's pretty good at dehydrating things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go right into Ron mind here and go to the next important thing. Like the complete opposite of the dehydrator. The GLH. Like what? Like where he's just like, I'm going bald. I'm going to make a bald spray. And that's 90-ish. That's got to be something like that. Like he just comes out like that's so off the wall. I have to try it.
Yeah.
I'm balding and I want to try it just to see. Well, I kind of wanted to. And then I was like, maybe I'll get brain cancer if I do it. I'm not sure if I will. But
we're all going to get cancer anyways. That's the human condition.
Yep.
Whatever. Have some fun.
From these microphones right here, brother.
You're all going to get cancer anyway. Try my GLH.
Yeah.
GLH is insane.
He didn't get cancer. You know, he made it to 86.
Yeah.
He was spraying the shit on his head all the time.
You think LeBron knows of this stuff? We should tell him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the shameless nature in which he sprayed his head with this stuff is just incredible.
And again, this is the branding thing too, where he would walk out for like the Showtime rotisserie infomercials and they would do the bit where Nancy would be like, Ron, I can see your balls bug. Give me 1 second, Nance. Can you help me out here? And go over and have her spray, and he would spray and have her spray. How's that, folks? Better? All right, let's start the show. And it's like,
Wow.
he just can't stop. Like, he wasn't like, and you couldn't, I mean, you could order GLH when you called, you could order anything you wanted, but like, the show wasn't selling you GLH. But again, it's that whole thing of like, don't forget who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who solves all your problems.
Yeah.
You're bald. You want to go fishing right now, and you want to dehydrate some meats and then maybe just cook them slowly on a spit. I got you.
Oh my god.
I got you.
Can you make fish pasta out of it?
How could fish pasta
Just bass pasta.
taste this good?
Is this stuff like just good for that one day, that one night you put it on? Like what happens when it's like when you shower, you go to bed?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, rinses off.
Yeah.
It's makeup, right?
It's makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's powder. It's powder.
Like the film, like the movie. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, I think there was a woman who had seen Powder the film, and she was just so intrigued by that pale
It
boy.
has made him a haired man in that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's about. But yeah, it was something like he had a chance run-in with a woman who had an idea like this, and then he was just like, "Oh, well, what if it was this?" And it was just like, "Ba-da!
Yeah.
Here's another $1 million."
Yeah. What if spray paint was just powder? Sure.
Right,
Sure, Ron.
right.
Um,
And he combs it.
yeah.
It is stunning. It's one of the few products that my grandfather didn't have because he had luscious Lebanese hair
Mm-hmm.
forever, but it was always jet black. So I was hoping that he would turn to some GLH, but he never did. Never got to try and huff that in his house.
I like combining GLH and QRB on something. So I want to make a hair chair at some point, but I have to like
I feel like you've said this before.
Yeah. I have to get rid of this old paint on this chair with QRB, and then I make the hair chair. Just spray the whole.
Yeah, you use the
Yeah.
Flowbee to cut the hair off, and then the GLH to put it all
Oh.
back together.
Yeah.
And the QRB, like, yeah.
Well,
To refinish it.
well, no, you use the QRB to remove the skin on your enemies, and then you cut the person.
Yeah, this is the Ed Gein version.
Are they really enemies if you're having to be in a situation where you're removing the skin?
If you're close enough to remove their
I
skin.
don't know.
I think you're the
Yeah.
bad guy.
I don't know who makes more money.
Right.
Okay, let's go through the last couple fast-ish because they're ridiculous. The record vacuum. Did you see this one? The record vacuum is a dated product in which you put a vinyl record into a tray that spins around and sucks dust off of your record. That's what it is. It's incredible. Then there is the smokeless
Whoa.
ashtray.
This is mine.
This is your pick,
Yeah.
which is completely illogical, right? It is an ashtray.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Are you smoking in that room?
This must have been the thing. He must have sold so many of these things, right?
This was, again, health craze. People started to turn against smoking. So I tried to, like, that's exactly what it was. It's just like, man, all this
Yeah.
guy did was watch the news and be like, fuck that.
More than a million.
Yeah. Yeah, it can't work. This is what's unbelievable about this guy and these people in general. Is there's no possible way that this thing could work, and it sold millions. It's ridiculous.
It sucks the smoke up in the room when it's in the ashtray. But what happens when you're smoking in the room? It sucks all that smoke that you're smoking in the room.
I mean, forget about that. I just want to know if it takes the smoke out of when you put it in the ashtray, which it definitely doesn't. Forget about the room smoke. It never promises that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this was the one of them, too, where he talked about the replacement filters being like the big part of the business.
Yeah.
It was like either this or the blades on something, but he was like, you have returning customers. 'Cause every time they run out, they have to send you $3 more for another.
Mhm.
Man, you just, the programming, it was just in there. You couldn't not. And this reminds me very much of, there's a Ben Stiller, Jack Black movie that was not successful.
Mm.
Not Envy.
Okay.
Oh,
Movie
yeah.
Envy.
Yeah.
Where does the poo go? It's just a spray that makes dog shit disappear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's literally this.
Yeah.
I think someone saw the smokeless ashtrays like, can we get Jack Black and Ben Stiller to tell some dick jokes about this? Or, yeah, get Amy Poehler. Done.
Yeah.
Nailed
I
it.
got one thing. I'm turning back on the smokeless ashtray. Real quick.
Okay.
Everybody needs an ashtray. At that time, everybody needs an ashtray. Why not have
Yep.
one that maybe does a little better with the smoke?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, it's perfect for restaurants. That's in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little better.
And if it's broken or if it's not sucking up the smoke, you're still dropping your ash in it and it's around, you know?
Mm.
And maybe your filter's broken. I don't know.
And just sorry to circle back on Envy, directed by Barry Levinson, produced by Larry David. starring Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Rachel Weisz, Amy Poehler, and Christopher Walken.
That
So,
sounds like the best movie ever made, and it doesn't sound.
I mean,
good.
listen,
King in
it
New York.
grossed over $14 million at the box office, and it only cost them a cool $40 million to make. Bum, bum, ba-dum.
That's Reese
Sorry.
Witherspoon money.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Back to you.
Last thing I have on here is the egg scrambler, which is, I keep saying that this one might be the strangest one. The egg scrambler might be his strangest product. It is a needle on a spinning machine that you put an egg on to scramble an egg within the shell that he says he invented because he didn't like the way an egg would be scrambled with a fork or a whisk. It was too runny. There were too many whites in the eggs. So he wanted to whip it so much.
He was woke.
Yeah.
Real good.
This is one of those things, like the reasoning behind making it doesn't make sense. And you still are curious enough to be like, oh, maybe I need that. There's no reason to do that to an egg.
It also wasn't his idea. So there was a different in-shell egg scrambler that was manual. He's like, why not put a tiny motor on it so it can actually do it properly and make it cheap enough so I can sell them? God damn it. Like, he didn't have to have every great idea. He had every great tweak and then the ability to sell it.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole thing. It was like he didn't claim to have invented the concept of scrambling eggs inside the shell, but he did invent the way to do it with a tiny machine and to get it to the consistency that he wanted.
They made a good omelet in this. They finally made a good omelet, like a nice base.
It's like one of the few good looking,
and put it in, and then a top on it, and that like did it the right way. So already, I love it. My dad loved this thing. He thought it was great back in the day.
What?
This is my favorite one out of this one. I think out of irony, like how we kind of look at these things.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great line in this one too. Like I was harping on before about the kids and the vegetables and being able to hide the vegetables and stuff with a Chop-O-Matic. But like, it's like your kids hate runny eggs. That's a whole thing. Your kids will never see runny eggs again. It's like an impulsive like thing he put in there that I think it was a genius move by him again.
Yeah, and a great stocking stuffer for mom.
Yeah.
You didn't get mom anything? Put your name on that.
But it's so strange looking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, weird. I do feel, I'm sorry I was gushing about so many of these things, but I feel like, Dan, you've kind of sandbagged us to some of these other products. And I think you were saving some of like his earlier products, obviously.
You don't want our show to end too soon.
But like, I was like, I was going back and I was like, well, I'm not Dan, so I don't know everything that he's made. And I'm like, imagine seeing Mr. Microphone in the glass roster for the first time. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy? I was like, the flavor injector guy? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
You
know where he came from now.
It's incredible. Yeah.
The only one you're missing is his most successful product ever, which is the Showtime rotisserie. And I know we haven't watched this on the podcast, but that's the set it and forget it. That is
a classic. Yeah.
There might be something like it before, but the thing before that doesn't exist because this thing came out. And I don't think I can think of many other products like that ever.
Yeah.
No, I was making the list and I was like, I don't know how to not take most of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was just so many. And then I kept seeing a new thing and I was like, he invented that? I mean, okay, and turn this back into, Ron's retrospective, rest in peace, Ron. It's fucking amazing. Like, these are incredibly ridiculous and memorable things. And that's why you're seeing them getting reviewed in like 2019. And the guy that did Pocket Fisherman that I watched, the girl that did the Egg Scrambler, both dropped Ronco. Like, they were like, oh yeah, Ronco product that like, I'm like, whoa. He did exactly what he was trying to do,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so one quick note on the Showtime. So I did reach out to our buddy Stan Jacobs after Ron's passing, and he shared, of course, his incredible insight from being the infomercialist insider of all time. So I guess it was right before the Showtime came out, Lester Morris was developing a Roto-Broil comeback.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And a product distributor sunk some money into it. They were developing it. They were putting it together. And then for reasons that have not become immediately clear, they abandoned it. And then shortly thereafter, Ron launched the goddamn Showtime. But Stan says if that product was properly positioned with a strong show, it would have beaten Ron to the marketplace just in terms of timing. Like, because the Rotor Boil reboot was farther along as a product, Ron hadn't gotten the Showtime up and running yet. But,
What's his most successful product?
So I think the Showtime takes the cake.
Over $1 billion in sales, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think he also said, I think it was the Pasta Maker, though, where he did the $1 million in an hour on QVC.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty nuts that he pulled. It was one of the two. All of my Ron information starting to blend a little bit together. We're going to have to extrude it. But yeah, I think between those two, I think the rotisserie is the number one by far in terms of sales, in terms of notoriety. And also, too, like that catchphrase is, I think, among the most notorious when it comes to, if there is such a thing, infomercial culture, right?
Yeah.
More than call now, set it and forget it is such a, like, it's a phrase. I think that's like one of the easiest jokes that's made about, oh, it's so easy, oh, set it and forget it. Like, it stands out above all his other things. So it like transcends the product, where it's kind of like the summary for infomercials of like, it's tongue in cheek. It feels kind of like a dig at infomercials. Like, oh, you're trying to get something by me. Oh, set it and forget it. But it's like, oh no. Yeah. So I would say that the rotisserie is the big one. A couple of the other ones that I'm a fan of, I don't really know how this worked, but they were selling top 20 hit record albums from Ronco.
I saw that.
So I think he might have invented, now that's what I call music, basically.
Yeah.
Smash Mouth.
He was just paying rights to sell these collections and just making money on that.
Mhm.
And then he has an incredible story about Instant Shine. It was a shoe shine product that it was before he really made it. He was looking at it and he would sell it at fairs and it was going good. And then he was like, who needs shoe shine more than anybody else? The military. So I went to the Illinois National Guard. I was like, just walked into an office? Yeah. Just walked in the office and just went to sell it.
Wow.
And just went to run with it. Funny enough, he demoed it on the shoe of, I forget the rank of the gentleman that he tried it on. And it turned his brown shoes stark white.
Oh, wow.
Snow white.
Wow.
There was an issue. There was a unforeseen chemical reaction due to the humidity in the office that fucked the guy's shoes. And the guy just said, if it's good with the colonel, it's good with me. And Ron's like, I don't know who the colonel was. Apparently, he was under the impression that I had. And I was like, wait, so did Ron fleece the military? Ron didn't go through with it. He's like, I couldn't sell them a bad product. He's like, I was happy to get out of there with my shirt, and that was enough. I was like, whoa.
And then he made them a better one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was nuts that like he tried it, and I guess what he said something like, oh, he's like, that'll turn to brown pretty soon. Like, he's just like, when you have nothing to lose, you might as well go for it. And that's what I did. It's like,
so he's pretty open about his mistakes in the book.
Yeah.
He tells the secrets. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the benefit of doing this, 35, 40 years into your successful multi-million-dollar business. And be like, oh, of course there were some bumps and bruises along the way. Yeah. Man, he's super candid too. Talks about his family life, both growing up as a kid and then his multiple marriages and the time that he spent as a father, like regrets that he has. What's strange about it is it's all still just Ron speaking. So it's like, it's weird to hear something that deeply personal and meaningful
when he's not talking about his product, right?
But he's still just talking in the same Ron voice. He's like, I think back about the time when Shannon was a young girl and I could have been a better father.
Yeah.
I regret that now.
It's like he put it on paper, and he was very candid and felt...
Reading it back, it's a little bit hard.
Right.
But I have to read it.
Right. But I'm a narrator, like that's what's...
I'm an announcer.
Right.
I never thought about hiring anybody to announce my commercial spots. I could announce. That's what I'd been doing at Woolworth.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing a job that is designed to be like, people are throwing tomatoes at you and you just keep going,
You just keep chopping.
Yeah, but he's cutting them and throwing them in the garbage.
Yeah. Cutting it, it'll last the whole summer.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so Desert Island, what do you got to have? Which product do you have to have?
Do I have cigarettes with me?
Yeah, if you want them, you can have them. cigarettes.
Unlimited heaters.
I think I want Pocket Fisherman the most.
Great pick. Great pick.
Because I'm on the desert island. But if you told me if I had cigarettes or a boombox, I may do Mr. Microphone or the Smokeless Ashtray.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Those are my three. But yeah, Pocket Fisherman if I'm nude.
Yeah. It's hard to say no to. I have to take the Pocket Fisherman. So
you need to broaden your view, is what I'm gonna caution both of you guys. Because the correct answer is the Showtime 6-star plus knife set, where you get 40 plus knives, including one that never dulls. You can cut down trees with. You can fashion a boat out of it. You can do anything with that. You have all those knives. You can throw the steak knives and try and get fish that way. You have to take out animals. You can protect yourself. You can build shelter. You can build yourself a way out of there. So it's all those knives. And then if you finally get something, you got the flavor injected and showed who's really boss.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Dan, I mean, that's great, but it doesn't have a tackle box built into the pocket.
yeah, I don't even need the butcher block. I'll just take the loose drawer. Everybody has one of these in their house. Really? Yeah, weird houses. How's real estate in Southern California?
Really good.
If you're alone on the desert island, you don't have to cut those tomatoes so thin either. So
yes, you do.
Oh, full. Yeah, you're rationing your food. I get you.
But yeah, so that's where I would be. I would take the whole damn set and see what I could do.
Yeah, and let's give him a proper send off. We beat him up a lot. Doing some research. He's pretty freaking incredible, man. R.I.P. Ron. Yeah. We couldn't possibly have covered all of the stuff that he made, and I tried to do it in I'm late to my project in 7th grade fashion, and it's intimidating how much stuff he has made. So we will be back with this for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say, I watched an interview with him with Brian Williams, of course. It was great. This is the great thing he said. Like, he's talking about the products that he sells, and he's like, I have to sell things I love. I have to sell things obviously I know I can make money on. And he says, I can't sell an empty box. And he's like, the only thing that is an empty box is a coffin. And I thought that, I heard that and I'm like, Jesus, man, that's kind of hits close now, but man of his word. Beautiful.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we didn't pay all that much attention to was his self-awareness and his sense of humor. And he participated or signed off on 2 Weird Al projects. So Weird Al had the song Mr. Popeil, which is awesome. And then there's also Weird Al's Infomercial, which is a clip from when Weird Al had a TV show in the early 90s where he goes to make an infomercial and Mike Levy shows up and Tony Little and Ron in just like this weird, bizarro Pee Wee Herman with curly hair and an accordion situation. So like he was in on the bit, man. That's it. And I think, Dave, you couldn't have started us off better with the more I spend on TV, the more money I make. And that's it. Like at a certain point, he totally got it where it wasn't just, I have to be Ron doing Ron things. Like, I can do anything. You're fucking right. Yeah. You absolutely can. And even the ones that weren't the smash hits, like the 501 Friar, like that was, felt like Legends Day at the ballpark a little bit with Ron, but still but yeah, there is never anyone better, man. End to end. There is no one better. And like I said before, too, he was the fit into that rare window of person at the right time with the right skill set to, really be a complete unicorn in a one of one.
And we will be back before more.
Yeah, man.
Nice. This isn't our last episode, right?
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
No. It happens next week.
Yeah. Ron, thanks for all the talking points, man. Thanks for all the tent you're slinging. This is nuts.
Yeah. Time for some GLH.
Ooh.
Goodbye, Ron.
Rest in peace to Ron and Dave's hair.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Have fun at your apartments.
Have fun at your desert island.
Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on your preferred podcast medium. And for all things Call Now, visit callnowpodcast.com. And if you want to connect with the boys, you can find them at Call Now Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or send them an email at callnowpodcast@gmail.com. And if you can't fight the urge to pick up the phone and call now, you can leave them a voice message at 617-356-7439. If you call in the next 30 minutes, you might just be the next star of Call Now. Thanks again for listening. We hope you tune in next time to Call Now.
This has been